Good evening, everyone. I hope you are having a wonderful time at the convention. Welcome to Origin Trails, How They Got Here. And we are going to be talking about how the voice actors and some of the writers started at their first job and eventually hit Pony. My name is Tim Starr. I also go by Starlight Ironhoof. I am the Deputy Head of Public Relations. But enough about me. This panel's about their origin story. So without further ado, let's bring them on stage.
Is it on? Is it on?
Hello.
It's on.
Hi. How's it going? Do you guys have a fun day today? Awesome.
Well, good evening. Now that you're all settled down, since this is about origin stories, I would like you all to introduce yourselves to the class out here. Tell us your names, what you do on the show, and what was your very first job.
I'm only 3.5 years old.
Okay, my name is Peter New. What was the other thing?
What do you do on the show?
I play Big Macintosh, and
Goldie Delicious.
and some other things. And my very first job was I was a cop on Need for Speed 4 or something. Need for Speed.
So you had no other jobs before voice work?
Oh, before voice work, my very
Yes.
first job was does paper route count?
Yeah.
Paper route and then dishwasher.
My name is Andrea Libman. Thanks. I play Pinkie Pie and Fluttershy on My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic. And my first job was when I was 6 years old. I was in a TV movie with Linda Carter.
Ooh, Wonder Woman.
Yeah, Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman.
And that was my first job. I played her daughter.
Thank you.
My name is Sabrina Alberghetti, and I'm a storyboard artist. And my first job, I worked finance at a furniture store called The Brick. I don't know if you guys have them in the States, but we sure have them in Canada. What? Okay, good. That's where I worked.
I'm Big Jim Miller. I'm co-director on the show, and my first job was delivering the Kamloops Daily News.
My name is Ian James Corlett.
Don't touch your
And-
mouth to the mic.
What?
Ew. Do you know where that's been?
This is the way I use a microphone all the time in the
Who is-
studio. And
You
it,
should have
it works
seen.
really well.
I think Terry was on
Terry,
that
you
mic
should have seen
earlier.
Terry Klassen using that.
Hardy har har. Whoa, that was not worth the joke. I play the most important character in My Little Pony history, Silver Shill. One episode. Thank you. Thank you so much. And my very first job was at my family piano store, vacuuming out the bottoms of 100-plus-year-old pianos. It was child labor. I was 6.
My first job. My name is Claire Corlett. I am the voice of Sweetie Belle on My Little Pony: Friendship is Magic. And my first job was voice acting when I was 5 years old, and I was in a show called Being Ian, on all about his life, and like he just told you in his piano store, and I did a couple of lines, and I just pretty much just screamed, and that was it. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. Wow, most of you don't seem to have worked anything even remotely related to what you do today as your first job. How long did it take for you to start getting into this field, and how many jobs did you actually go through to get there?
Paper route, dishwasher, bookstore, no, gas station, car wash, and then acting. Coffee shop again. Bookstore again. And then acting. And it went like that for, I don't know, about a decade.
Are you still going through that?
Nope.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that question doesn't apply to me and Claire, so
really.
we'll pass.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, at first I worked in finance at that awesome furniture store. And then I worked at Office Depot, which was pretty awesome because I really like all the pencils and pens and all the back-to-school stuff, and I'd always get discounts.
Yeah.
Because I'm an artist, and, you know, I'm going to school, and I'd be like, oh, this 50-pack of Sharpie rainbow markers came in. Whoops, this one opened. I guess I'll just take it home for like $1. I worked there for about a year.
Gee, however could you have lost your job there?
Well, I went to college. So I had to stop because I didn't have enough time because I was doing animation college. But I kind of miss it sometimes.
He was like huffing the glue, right?
Mr. Sketch.
Yeah. Did you see they have like movie ones that smell like
Popcorn.
But
Yeah.
there was one.
There's a charcoal one.
It's
It
gross.
smells like poo. Yeah.
I like paper route, department store, hardware store, sign shop, library.
How old are you?
75. Virgin Megastore.
I remember Virgin Media.
Yeah. Worked in the video cassette department.
Oh, you were the surly guy selling me videotapes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When you'd be like, there's black bars at the top and bottom of my video. It's broken.
How come I can't pass forward?
And then I tried to explain aspect ratio to you and be like, it's broken though.
It's at the end and I still can't pass forward.
Yeah, so lots of dumb jobs.
I really only had sort of 2.5 jobs, and it was all connected to vacuuming pianos. Because
Well, that was a thing.
No, that was a real job because we had to resell them, and you can't imagine the stuff.
I was gonna say, what's in them?
A lot of dust and old pennies.
Wow.
And then, and I got to keep the pennies, and rubber bands, and then things you can't. I don't know where they come from.
Like a body?
No. I did find a couple of mice, though.
Ooh.
Anyway, everything was kind of a continuation of that because I worked in the family store, which was pianos. And from that, because I'm such a strapping lad, I was all of 120 pounds for most of my life. I moved pianos. Should have seen that. It's all about leverage. So I did that kind of stuff, and then my only job outside the family business was a department store. Sort of seasonally, I sold a lot of Christmas ornaments at Eaton's. That was really good. I was a top salesman. But along the way, I was always kind of making films as a hobby, so that's not a job. And it really kind of just continued until I retired from the family business a long time ago. And did my first voiceover, which was for a department store called Woodward's in British Columbia.
Tuesday.
That's right.
Woodward's.
Classic Canadian.
West Coast.
Yeah.
West Coast, yeah.
I don't know what they're talking about either.
I had a job at a place called Cartoon Corner. I remembered this as you guys were all talking. It was a store that sold like animated cell art.
Was
as
that on
well as-
Granville Island?
There wasn't on Granville Island, and I did work there a few shifts, but I often worked at the Robson store.
Wow.
And they sold art and plushies and
Junk.
trinkets. Yeah, lots of stuff that was like mass-produced by Warner Brothers because people were interested in it at the time. They actually took me aside at one point and said, "We don't think you're focusing enough on your work here at Cartoon Corner for minimum wage, because you're spending too much time focusing on this acting thing that you're doing, and we'd like you to make a choice, please. And we think you should choose us." And I went, "Okay, see ya."
And where's Cartoon Corner now?
Yeah, they're gone. They don't exist anymore. And I'm still acting.
In cartoons.
Nonetheless. I wonder if they have any cells of my character. Well, no, they don't, because we don't use that technology anymore.
Now, I do still think even if you did start off in the field, there's still some kind of starting point. Andrea, I know you had mentioned you wanted to go into engineering originally. What happened to change your course? How does that work?
I got booked on this show that really got popular. It's called My Little Pony. Yeah, it kind of changed everything. Because other than that, besides from that, as soon as I graduated college, I was like, okay, I'm going to be an engineer. I'm sure that this voiceover thing is going to dry up.
Were you like driving trains?
Yeah.
Woo woo!
Choo-choo. No, I did civil engineering. I remember Ian just laughing at me when I was doing my degree.
I was not laughing. I was impressed.
Were you?
Yeah, I thought, wow, she's smart.
Oh. Things
But you
change
told
when
me
we're
how
on
much you
stage,
hated
huh?
She, in a moment of candor, she looked me straight into my eyes, deeply, and said, "Ian, I don't know why I'm an engineer." You remember that, don't you?
Yeah.
She hated it. So I think it was all for the better, right?
Totally.
But
yeah.
you can always go back to engineering if you have to.
I don't think I can anymore. I think it's been too long, actually, and I think I'm done for engineering.
You could drive trains.
Yes.
Chicka, 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 chicka. Where's the person with the train whistle earlier?
Yeah.
All aboard! All aboard!
Nice.
All right, moving on, Claire, you're in a unique position because you actually started at the age of 5. I'm going to borrow this question from the con book for the description of this. Being a high school voice actress, is it at all like Hannah Montana?
I never really watched that show, but I know
Neither do I.
I know. Thank you. I mean, I know the premise of the story, but I don't have like some alter ego where I like change my hair color.
In my day, it was called Jam and the Holograms.
Yeah.
I just go to school. Some people know that I'm Sweetie Belle, some people don't, and that's they choose what to do with that information.
She's Miley to my Billy Ray.
That's really creepy.
And
Uh-oh.
how did you end up?
Yeah, no mullet. He has like no hair.
No, now actually, no, just to use.
I knew this was coming now.
I mean, but seriously, there's like little hair, and then there's no hair, and I just want to like, but it's not a dig. It's just a
It's the
reference
truth.
point.
No. When he
She
was,
did-
when he was in high school, when he was in high school, he had really nice hair. So
It's still really nice. There's just not a lot of it.
yes, no. That yes.
So I'm so angry with you right now.
Well, I love you.
That was, we were going to do that same act. No, we can't.
All right, but back on track for a little bit at least.
What? There's a track?
Oh, you can try.
How did you actually start voice acting at the age of 5? Did it just kind of land at the doorstep? Did you seek it out? Parental help?
Yeah, I saw her like wandering from studio to studio. It's like,
You left out a saucer of milk. And she came in, and they're like, She's making weird mewling noises. Get a recorder.
I just used him. He was my resource. He kind of saw that I liked doing voice work, and then I kind of picked up on it, and I'm here now doing voice work still. So
Yeah, you
I
are.
still like it, so I'm continuing.
All right.
It's better than a real job. Well, it is. Well, it's a job. I mean, it's a real job, but you know what I mean, right?
Now, I want to go down the line again. A lot of you not starting off in this field, would you say that life experience is more important or educational background? And if it's life experience, was there any moment in your current career where you were thinking, I wish I had taken some extra classes during college or some kind of training in this? Do you feel disadvantaged?
No. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, sure.
I think that any experience informs your work, right? I think that if I don't have any formal training in performance whatsoever, but
Clearly.
which is why I don't get as many jobs as some of the. What am I saying out loud to you people? No, I really just think whatever you feel like informs you and whatever you feel helps to fill your well is what you need to do this. And if that's school, great. And if that's not, great. But you have to know yourself.
I wish I had taken less courses. For sure.
Fewer.
Yeah. I wish I had just done a degree in something that I liked.
Like driving trains.
Yeah. I actually wish I had done my degree in music. I was really considering doing that, and my dad, who's a musician, told me that was the worst idea he'd ever heard. So I didn't do it. Yeah, it's weird.
Is that the dictionary definition of irony?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
I've always wanted to do cartoons, but I also really wanted to be a pilot. And when I realized I wasn't smart enough for it, I was like, well, I guess that's not going to happen. There's a lot of things that it's great about animation. There's a lot of things where I go, okay, there's a lot of days where I'm like, maybe I should have done something else. Mainly because, at least from the artist standpoint, it's all contracts, and you never know when you're going to be working next. You don't know if you're going to be working for 8 months. You know, the industry kind of does this, and it's not very stable. And if you want to kind of have a normal life, it's a little tricky to do it on your own.
Especially in boards. Because
Yeah.
the schedules can be really tight, so you're putting in a lot of late nights or weekends potentially.
Yeah, like it's really a labor of love. If you don't want to, if you're not into it, you're not going to put up with, you know, the hours and the stress. And I should have been a pilot.
Hey, maybe you could drive trains with me. Yeah.
Okay, wait. What if you drove the train and then there was a plane on the back, and as the train was going faster, and then the plane went off the train?
Okay.
I think that
A
only
train
happens
runway.
in cartoons.
Copyright.
Trunway.
Trainway.
Trainway?
Yeah.
What? Trainway.
For me, I actually was planning on being a geneticist,
A gymnast?
a gymnast. Very flexible at a young age. No, I was in university for a couple years, and it just wasn't working for me. I decided I want to try drawing people falling down. So I dropped out and went to film school, and that seems to be going well. I don't know. I think life experience is fantastic, but your path kind of presents itself to you as you go along. Like, it's not going to be easy, but
Well, I have a question, because you're amazing at drawing. you must have been drawing, like me or whoever else, since you were small.
Yeah.
Why was that never a path that you said, hey, maybe this is what I should do?
I wanted to be a comic book artist, but I didn't feel like I had the skill set.
But you're
for
so
it.
good.
Yeah, but I drew weird stuff. Like it.
We all
wasn't-
do.
Do you guys need a minute to just have this conversation?
Yeah, we're gonna. Can we
having
hash
a
this out a little
moment.
bit?
We're having a moment.
I don't know. I came from a working class family in a working class town, and the idea of the arts was a little bit. I didn't know
sucks.
anybody. I didn't know anybody who made a living doing it. You grow up in a small town, and the local theater players are always the weird people who don't ever seem to have a job.
Because they are
So-
weird.
It's kind of the same.
Yeah,
now.
yeah, true. But I don't know. It just didn't seem, and I didn't. Because I didn't
wasn't
know that, I
realistic.
didn't know the path to get to what I wanted to do, and it wasn't until I went to university and then heard through friends that another friend was doing film school and animation that I thought, oh, that sounds like I could spend some money going to that school.
I actually want to follow up on that quickly. Since you were raised in that working class environment instead of the arts, when you finally made that decision to go into film and animation, were you at all feeling nervous, like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? Am I going to be stuck delivering pizzas the rest of my life because I'm doing this? Or
I think my parents were more nervous that they'd have to keep financing me. But it sort of became clear after a while that they had friends who had had kids who done master's degrees and all sorts of crazy university training, and then they would come out and there was no jobs in their field. And at the time I went into film school, animation was booming, and there was articles about what a viable industry it was in Vancouver. So I think that made it seem more palatable to them. And then as I was in it longer and the day came when I made more than my dad, they were really okay with it.
Well, that is a loaded question, because it's if I answer, oh, I don't think you need to go to school, it's kind of, that's not really a complete answer, not to get all heavy, but all education is great, and this is coming from a guy who stopped at grade 12. That's it. I didn't go to college. I didn't do any of those things. I had because I had won several film competitions, I was offered a scholarship to what was then the big film school in BC, which is Simon Fraser University had the program at that time. And I had this scholarship, and I went and met with the professor, and at that time it was, the new wave punk era. And it was the beginning of music videos, and everyone was like just hipper. Imagine the current crop of hipsters and put them, give them a mohawk here and there, and like everyone was just too cool for school. And my films were always comedies or animated, so they were stupid. And I have this meeting with this professor, and he was sitting there. He might as well have had a pipe and patches on his sleeves. Here at this film school, blah, 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 blah. And I wanted to go to film school, but I really wanted to go to like a technical film school, because I thought I'm gonna perish here, because I'm making little movies that are sort of like something between Woody Allen, Walt Disney, and the Marx Brothers. And it's not gonna fly with that slow motion teapot falling and crashing, and then blood flowing out of it, and a black raven. I mean, that was the kind of films that were coming out of SFU, and I just said, I don't think so. So I said no, and I went to work for the family business because I wanted to make some money. So, that's my path. Like, I kind of had the opportunity. I didn't. Do I wish I went to film school? Kind of. What I really wish I would have done is gone to business school, because I like business. And, business school it teaches you everything about everything. And it's completely translatable, whether you're going to go into the arts, run a mill, or do something else. Business is business.
Dollar bill, y'all.
Or just run your household, right? Like paying
Yeah.
bills and
Yeah. Business is great. So the short answer is, like, I hate when you say odd. I remember going to this thing last year with Claire, Vlogger Fair. Have you heard of that? It's in Seattle.
It's like VidCon, but it's really small right now, so no one
Yeah.
really knows about it.
So these vloggers who are successful instantly, one of these guys, two or three of these people stood up and went, "Don't go to school, don't go to college, just go on YouTube." And you kind of go, "Yeah, you were really lucky, dude." And I think, most of us can say, we're really lucky.
Yeah.
A lot of it,
Absolutely.
sure, you got to have the talent, you got to have the ability and everything, but you still got to be freaking lucky to break through all the, barriers and walls and stuff that you have to break through. So, get educated, because no one likes a dummy. And that's, I guess, I don't know.
That's the number one reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
No one likes the
sort of stay in school.
Or not.
Or not.
Sort of.
Go to school for a bit and then drop out. Yeah.
Well,
Or refuse.
I've never obviously been to university. I'm 15, so. But these are, I'm going to take all these things into consideration. So thank you.
What are your plans?
My plans, I think I'm going to continue with voice acting, and I also really enjoy cooking and gaming, like all the other children.
What are your
these
plans
days.
with school?
With school? I'm leaning towards the teaching side of things.
Okay.
I like, yeah. I really enjoy being a teacher. I taught for about a month this summer, just before I came here. Where? In Taiwan. Thank you for asking. Taiwan for 3 weeks and 1 week here in Vancouver. And,
We're not in Vancouver.
Not in Vancouver.
We're in Baltimore.
Don't
Oh.
become a geographer.
Baltimore.
1 week in Vancouver. And I think I'm going to continue with that. It's something to do with teaching English or drama or both.
I believe the children are the future.
Thank you.
Teach them well and let them lead the way. Peter?
No.
Ian, I'm actually really glad that you mentioned you wanted to go to school. You wish you could take more business classes or an education that I know a lot of aspiring artists out there that underrate the business side of things, and they just find it so hard to get people to appreciate their work because they don't know what they're doing. And you guys are industry professionals, so in what ways does having any kind of business background or knowledge help with your jobs today?
Fundamentally, I think, in every possible way, it would help to have business knowledge.
Absolutely. There's a reason the expression starving artist exists, because most people, I think, that are artistically inclined are not. Okay, just getting a little. I have to be somewhere soon. Most people who are full-on artists, it means that they're wired a certain way, and it's usually not with practicality in mind. Speaking for myself, I straddle those two worlds like right down the middle. I've come to grips recently, like literally in the last 5 years, that I guess I'm really kind of artsy, but there's
You are wearing a scarf.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Interpretive dance?
And I'm a whiz on the dance floor. But yeah, it's fundamental. It's really, really important. Like, understanding that especially from a voice actor's point of view, you get a job or you get a series, and you need to understand that is, and it's similar to boarding and that contract work. I'm really super busy and I'm doing lots of stuff right now, but it may not be there in a month. And you may go for months without anything else. So people hear, "Oh, you're making all this money." Yeah, well, let's factor that out over a year and then extrapolate and use other big words. And it's, you have to be careful. So that's where that practicality comes in.
Yeah, I've worked with a lot of people who fall into the trap of, I got my first job in animation. I'm making, pretty decent money. It's not minimum wage. We're used to go to school. And they blow it all, and they buy stuff they don't need, and then the contract ends, and it's like, well, how do I pay my rent? You kind of, it's like Ian was saying, you have to kind of straddle and say, well, okay, I have to be responsible and save for those months that I may not be working. It's scary. And I remember at one point I wasn't working for, this was like in 08, I think it was, where the industry really took a dive, and luckily at the time I was in a 2-income situation. But without that, I don't even know what would have happened, because
It was really bad.
it was
Yeah,
real.
everything
Everyone,
just kind of halted.
everyone we knew was out of work, and we're like, oh God, like what's gonna happen? Am I gonna lose my my house? I have to sell my house, and luckily things picked up. But yeah, you really have to plan ahead.
I
I've
wasn't
just
that
seen so many
concerned because I
people.
had 2 kids I could sell. So
Or at least get them
What?
working,
Yeah.
right?
exactly, or
That's
put them
true.
to work.
Break
But
out
then
the
if
old
there's no-
piano vacuum. I mean, I wish I had more business acumen
Yep.
in the sense of defending myself as an artist, like knowing what I was doing was worth and valuing it. Because when you work as an artist for hire, oftentimes you don't know what you do is worth. Someone will say like, oh, can you do this caricature of my aunt for a retirement party? And you're like, sure, that's going to take me, I don't know, 3 weeks to do a good job, $40. Or, like that's ridiculous. That's you should have an hourly wage. That's a lot of your time.
Yeah, I
Or-
base everything I do now off my hourly wage at work.
Well,
This
yeah.
is what my time is worth to my company. This is what my time is worth to
There is
someone else.
an impression that as an artist, you should just be happy you have a talent to share with the world, and somehow that is value enough. But it's
No.
still a job.
And worse
Yeah.
is when people want stuff for free.
Oh yeah.
And they get mad.
Yeah.
Like, I've had people ask me what my rate is now to do things. Like, my dad's friends will say, oh, can you do this thing? I'll be like, yeah, it's X amount an hour. And they'll be like, "Rah, rah, 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 rah. That's
Yeah.
ridiculous. It's like, well,
Well, why is it ridiculous?
if
it's
you,
a job.
my dad worked
Yeah.
as a telephone repairman. If I called him up to come and fix my phone, it costs something. That's his job. How is it any different?
I
Well,
saw
what I
a,
do.
a great series. It was a panel of cartoons, and you guys may have seen this as well. And the gist of it was, if the artist versus the doctor or the
Yeah,
skilled
I've seen
laborer,
that.
and basically, if you asked a doctor to, I want you to check out this mole on my back, and I'm going to see how you do. So I'm not going to pay you right away. And if it turns out to be something, then maybe we'll see if I can pay you. And if it's particularly cancerous, well then, and you got it right, then I'll give you some money. And that's kind of what you're asking of artists. It's like, well, give me all this stuff for free, and we're going to just see how it works
If
out.
I like it, maybe I'll pay you in 6 months.
Right, if at all.
Yeah. We've all, I'm sure everyone here has done stuff for free
Yep.
Oh,
that maybe we should have been paid for.
Or that maybe we should have just not done.
Not done,
for
yeah.
free.
and I'll say, actually, not that this is a precedent for any of you people that are going to start searching me out. I do tons of stuff for free. Like, I just do, because at a
Do you
certain
want to give out your Twitter handle?
Nope.
Or?
but I, that's the other side
Can
of it.
you mow my lawn?
No, I will definitely not. No, actually, no, I'm allergic to grass.
So am I.
I can't do it. I can't do it. That was my out. I've had that out for
It's
like
such a good out.
80
I've never
years.
mowed a lawn.
I can't.
I'll do it, but my hourly rate for lawn mowing is really high.
It's kind of the same thing. How do you guys feel about this when people come up and ask for voice recordings? I mean, we're not supposed to do that. For
Oh, you mean like at an event
yeah,
like this?
yeah. I mean,
Oh.
that's kind of along the same lines. Like, that's our job. That's what we fight. That's how we, that's our.
That's how you eat.
That's how we.
Yeah, I
eat.
wouldn't recommend asking for that. But for friends of mine and little things, I
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do tons of stuff for free.
It's sort of at the artist's discretion too, and
It's part of being an artist.
I don't know. It's tricky because you want to help, especially when fans of your work, you want to be gracious, and because you wouldn't be in the position you're in without them. But at the same time, like you said, this is still your job. Like, for us coming here this weekend, as lovely as it is to talk to everyone, this is the time we would have a break from work on a weekend, right? This is where we get to step away from it. So it's still fun.
There's
but
no weekends
it's
for
work.
me.
I don't know, does that make
Not on the
sense?
train.
does.
Choo choo.
I'm in my plane, baby.
And speaking of choo-choos,
Oh.
I really apologize, but I have to go. I have a piano to clean. And I would, thanks for having us. I'm speaking for Claire, too.
Is Claire
because
leaving too?
Claire's got to come, too.
Oh.
He really needs some money, so he's forcing me to climb into the piano and collect all the pennies for him.
Good daughter.
So thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for joining us tonight.
You should be grateful that you're working on this. I just wanted to add, before I forget, I've gotten a lot, when I was especially doing comic work that paid terribly, and you know, I did it because, again, it's a labor of love, but don't let somebody tell you, it's kind of what Jim was saying, you should just be grateful that, you know, this is exposure.
Yeah, people can
or
take
this is free.
advantage of that love.
They will, and I've seen studios do it, I've seen companies do it, I've been in places like that where they'll pay you less than you're worth because they feel that they're doing you a favor. And you know, I mean, you're the one making the money for them, and your time is worth it, and your talent is worth it. And there's a lot of people who will try and take advantage of that. And it's hard to put your foot down sometimes because you're afraid that you might upset, you know, someone higher up, or you're afraid that you won't get hired, you know, in the long run. But it does happen, so just be aware of that also.
But also at the same time, friendship is magic.
Also that.
But seriously, like, no one's
Yeah.
gonna look out for you other than
No.
you.
No, I've gotten really bitter in the last 10 years of animation. Like, when you first start out, it's like, yeah, it's fun, I'm drawing cartoons, and now it's like, okay, no, I have to pay my mortgage and I have to eat. Like, you really do have to look out for yourself. I know it's serious and boring, but it's worrisome, and people will try and take advantage of you and your talent and your time. Like, it's not worth it to them, but without you, they've got nothing either. And they'll try, and sometimes you'll feel replaceable, or what's the word, like interchangeable. Yeah. And
But at the same time, you got to be careful not to overvalue your importance in the process. Like, for this show, as much as everyone's an integral piece of the puzzle, they're just a piece of the puzzle.
Except for Big Mac, who's who's really necessary always,
always.
which is why he's in every episode.
Keep telling
from
yourself
now
that.
I really kind of want to stay here for a little longer. I've got a really close friend who is an aspiring artist, and, you know, she's been dealing with that the entire time. It's very easy for someone college age, still in school, to be like, okay, it's worth doing this for the exposure. Would you agree that at that point of life it's worth doing? And if so, what is the cutoff point to stop and start demanding some value for your time as opposed to building portfolio so that you
So
actually have
tricky.
I don't know if there's
assets.
like a clear answer for that. That's
Yeah.
sort of
No, it's not.
a combination of the artist's discretion and where they feel they're at in their career and how comfortable they are standing up for themselves.
And it's a project by project decision, right? Like, sometimes you'll look at a project and you'll think, oh, well, this one really isn't worth it, even though it's weirdly almost identical to the one I did a week ago, which really was worth it. You just, like, different projects just have a different energy, different
Well, and also,
vibe.
you're not going to charge your grandma to do a birthday card.
I
As
shouldn't have done
opposed
that?
to- No. That's
was
why
her own
she's
birthday.
not talking to you.
Oh.
Now going back to jobs before Pony, while you're working on this show or any other shows you are doing, is there ever a moment where you're thinking, wow, I'm really glad I worked this one job. It's really helped me through this? And tell us a little bit about that, if there was a moment like that.
Do you mean, do I now look back at working at whatever, the car wash or whatever, and I think, wow, I'm really glad I worked at that car wash. It really helped me get here. Is that the question?
Yeah, like it's like, you know, maybe you had a role where you're playing a window washer. It's like, I can relate to this and it's helping me.
Well, like I said earlier, I think everything informs you, right? And I imagine that it does help in certain ways, but you never also know where you're going to take inspiration from, so you just have to sort of suck up life and enjoy it, I think. There's never been a particular job, I don't think, that I look back on and go, oh, I'm so what luck, you know, that I got to learn how to wrap a cheese because that's so useful now.
I forgot. I used to work. I worked at a factory one summer making eye wash, like for when your eyes are burnt.
Wow.
And
Wow.
That really comes in handy for your drawing.
I wanted to die every day. It was horrible.
No.
Horrible. Eye wash. Like,
I-
someone's got to make it.
I've used it at the car wash.
Thank you.
God.
I think it's more like they're part of the journey to get you where you are. Like it's the experience at that place led you to the next step to get you where you are now.
Right.
So
It's the place to motivate you to go, God, I
Yeah.
don't want to do this for the rest of
maybe
my life.
the car wash was horrible and that led
Yeah.
you to working at the
Yeah.
coffee shop,
Yeah.
which led you to going, screw this, I'm going to be an actor.
Right. Well, ultimately, yeah, it did, because there came a point in my life where I thought, okay, if I really do want to be an actor,
You got to take that risk.
then the jobs that I need to make for myself, the jobs that I need to seek for myself, if I'm not going to get a job acting, I need to at least get jobs which are somehow related to my field. And so I started doing like extra work in movies for a short time, and it got me on sets, and it got me meeting people that were also extras trying to be actors, and actors who did extra work from time to time, etc. And that sort of, you know, I did get to that place where I made that decision that like I can't spend so much of my time doing something which has not got anything to do with what I want to do.
But I think you also make a good point about like just getting your foot in the door. You know, the end goal is you want to be an actor. So you don't just go, I want to be an actor, and you go and get the job and you're an actor. You went and you were an extra and you saw what it was like on set and you move up. So same
When
with
I was-
artists. Maybe you don't become a storyboard artist. You don't apply for that job right away, but maybe you're a production assistant and you get your foot in the door.
Yeah.
And then you sort of say like, hey, can I maybe do some revisions? And then you ingratiate yourself and move up. Like it's not very often that it happens overnight. And I think that's what the takeaway is from here. Like every single person on this panel who we're all relatively successful in what we do had to start from somewhere. We didn't just happen to all end up on an amazing show by chance.
Except for our old friend Raven. She
Well-
had no terrible jobs. She just started on Ed's, and it was
yeah.
like dream come true. Like,
Yeah,
oh,
there are
That
exceptions to every
That
rule.
happens
Yeah.
to people, yeah.
it does, yeah.
Some people just do that one audition and get that one job, and away they go. And
We are going to have to start wrapping up soon, so I'll ask one last question. For those in the audience that are aspiring to be an artist but are locked down in jobs, education that are nothing to do with that, what would your advice to them be in order to get to being an artist?
my advice is to work toward carving out more and more time you can devote to your art. If you're working a job 40 hours a week, 60 hours a week right now, find a way, like, is there a gap in your employment where you have an hour every week on a Thursday where you're not really doing anything because nobody's coming in or out of your shop? Well, use that hour to make art. Carve it out. And then just steer yourself further and further and further towards reducing the number of hours that you spend not doing it while simultaneously increasing the number of hours you spend doing it. Because it's doing it. Doing it is what makes you a thing. I used to have a friend who called himself a writer and never wrote a word. Sorry, you're not a writer.
I'm thinking.
I think what Peter said is like, it's like exercise. It's not gonna happen until you commit to it. And you have to make the time for it because it's not going to happen otherwise.
Yeah, you have to put yourself out there.
You have to take a risk,
yeah.
whether that's saying, okay, I'm going to quit my job and really make an effort to make this happen for 2 months, and at the end of the 2 months see where I'm at, or, I mean, sometimes great rewards come from the biggest risks, but you have to weigh those options for you. I wouldn't quit your job if you can't afford to support yourself for those 2 months.
Well, that's like kind of what happened to me. I finished school, I graduated college, and then I literally moved out to Vancouver a month after I graduated college with a job offer with these guys, with Jim on the Eds and that crew. I didn't know if I was gonna be good enough to last, especially after you hear that it's like the hardest show to work on. I left everything behind. I left all my friends, all my family of 24 years at the time. I moved to a city I didn't know. I didn't know anything, and it was really scary. But I knew if I sat and thought too much about it.
I like to use thunk.
Thunk.
If I thought too much about it, I would probably still be living in the armpit of Ontario, and I just had to take that risk. I had to just see where life was going to take me, and I guess it's been working out so far. I've been doing it for 10 years, and I'm still enjoying it for the most part. But yeah, I know a lot of people that want to stay with the familiar, but at the same time they want to grow. And I find that you kind of have to push yourself out of your comfort zone to do that. And a lot of people ask me, oh, did you have to move, or did you move? I said, yeah, I moved away from everything. I was terrified. I'm still sad. I still miss, the familiarity of where I came from.
But I think that's a good point, because I spoke at a university in Indiana earlier this year, and a lot of kids were interested in getting into animation, but it doesn't happen where they live. So sometimes you got to go where it's going on, and if you're not prepared to take that leap, then it's sorry, you're not going to be the best animator in Indiana if there's no animation to be done. So it goes back to risk-reward trade-off.
And I also think I used to have a relationship with the idea of work that was really negative. I used to go to these jobs I didn't like working at the bookstore, and which was mostly just dusting and reshelving and whatever, and putting things in alphabetical order, and so I would spend my shift trying to avoid my responsibilities with the idea that I was going to finish this 9 hours in this store and then go home and write screenplays. And of course, by the time I got home, I was beat. But I eventually realized that what was happening was that I had developed a pattern of non-work. By not doing what the job wanted me to do, I was in a motion of not work.
You worked hard at not working.
I worked hard at not working. And so what that meant was I was really prepared by the time I got off work to continue to not work. Yeah. And so, of course, I never wrote a word.
All right.
In that period.
Thank you very much. Unfortunately, we are out of time. So Peter, Andrea, Sabrina, Jim, thank you so much for coming out here tonight.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for being here. Thanks.
All of you, please go enjoy the rest of the convention. We have Brony Palooza going on right now. It is fantastic. I recommend it.